right, so there have been some changes announced to us, and we have been given the green light to share them with you. I think at least one of them is going to piss a lot of people off, but we're going to take a look at them. Now, real quick before I get into it, my mic is farting out on me quick here, so if it's poppy or fadey or whatever it may be, if it sounds bad, just bear with me. I've got a new microphone on the way. I was going to look at this with you guys for the first time. I just did the whole video, found out that the mic didn't even pick it up. It was unbearable. So hopefully I've taken off, I've played around with a little bit. Hopefully it's not that bad this time and I can at least get this uploaded. But again, if the audio is not great, bear with me. This unfortunately is not now my first time looking through these changes with you, which is really a bummer. I really like to do it that way. But I do want to get you guys the information nevertheless. So the first bit of information I want to give you is that they have announced to us that champ storage is being increased by 100. And it says main. Let me read this again. Let me double check that I'm reading this correctly. It says main champion roster will be expanded by 100 slots, which to me means not vault, right? How expensive it's going to be to get those extra 100 slots, who knows at this point. We know they're probably going to take the opportunity to monetize it. To what extent, we don't know. But they almost certainly, and I would love to be wrong here, but they almost certainly will not be giving us those slots for free. So we'll see what happens. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get to the big change that I know you guys want to know about first. Duchess. They're nerfing Duchess, and basically they are removing the part from her passive about the invisible buff. Now, all she does is reduce damage from AoEs by 25%, 15% if the attacker is a boss. Now, that's it's a change, for sure. I'm excited to know what you guys think about this, both Duchess owners and non-Duchess owners. I want to know how you feel about this change, because it seems significant. Duchess is one of those champs that I've wanted for a while. She's one of the few legendaries that I've wanted that I don't have, and I don't guess I really know how big of an impact this would have because I don't have her, and I don't do a ton of arena anymore, so it's not like I'm fighting her all the time. But I am very interested to know what you guys think about this, because I imagine it's going to hurt. I imagine it's going to piss a lot of people off. But aside from the Duchess thing, let's take a look at everything else they're doing here. The changes are in bold, so we're not going to go through and read every bit of it. Now, one of the things that's kind of confusing me here is they've doubled up on some of these skills. I'm thinking this is just an error in the structuring of the file, because it's happened pretty commonly throughout. So I think that these are just duplicates, because they're word for word the same, right? Even the same typos and strange errors are the exact same. But the changes are in bold. So for Lord Chamfort, on his A1, he now has a 45% chance to place a 60% defense break. And you know I'm a fan of first turn defense break. This automatically makes him a little bit more viable, depending on how limited your options are. Now you've got a legendary who's probably going to have good base stats, easier to scale up and do whatever you need to do with him, who now has a first turn defense break. Going to be a little easier to take into the dungeons, a little bit easier to do some things with. And then now at the start of his turn, he creates a shield, a 20% of his HP shield instead of a 10%. Which is a bump, right? Twice the shield he was creating, you get his HP way up there. Now you've got a depending on skill ups, I don't know what this chance gets to. 45 is a bit low. For a first turn, it's not so bad. For an A1, it's not so bad. But now we've got a decent shield every turn and maybe a reliable defense break after skill ups. We'll see how it translates. Mashallah, trying to make my man interesting. Same A1, but now also attacks enemies that have a leech debuff up. So the way I'm reading it, if you've got AoE leech, his A1 is now an AoE. So he's hitting people that have leech, so he's stealing life that way, also on top of his 30% leech that's inherent in the skill. Interesting. A2. Now, what I think they've done here was I think that they made changes and then again made changes. So this is the final A2 now, okay? And it's a doozy. AoE speed buff on the team. AoE crit damage buff on the team. Fear 2, which I interpret to mean true fear. AoE 100% chance. and AoE Leech. 100% chance. So all he needs is accuracy. Gets an extra turn. Speed buffs the whole team. Crit damage buffs the whole team. True fears the whole enemy team. Leeches the whole enemy team. Gets an extra turn. That is a skill. That's a skill. And his A3 steals all buffs from an enemy with an 80% chance. I can only assume with skill ups it's 100%. Then attacks the enemy one time. Deals 50% more damage against targets without buffs. Places a heal reduction with 100% chance for 2 turns. Places 2 continuous heals on himself for 3 turns. He is now ridiculous. We're talking about full strip, 50% more damage after crit damage buffing himself. He's got a lot going on. It's going to be really interesting to pull this dude out of the vault and see what he can do. By far, the most drastic change in these notes. I know the Duchess nerf is going to hurt a lot of people. It's going to frustrate a lot of people. Nothing more drastic than this, I don't think, has ever happened to a champion in this game. I don't think they've ever made more significant changes to a champion than these. This is crazy. This pulls him from the bottom of the vault to... I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it all translates, but AoE True Fear with 100% chance, 2 buffs, that's a lot. It's a lot going on. War Chief. He now steals 2 random buffs with 100% chance, and the cooldown is reduced a turn. And his the defense scaling is now 15% instead of 10 per dead ally. I'm about it. I think I've always wanted War Chief to be a little bit more interesting. There's been times where I've thought about trying to do something with him anyway, so I'm here for them making him a little more interesting. Morty Macabre, now his block buffs is a 90% chance. If there's a heal block up, it's now unresistible. So it's gonna place. If you've got a heal block up, block buffs is going up. Nothing that can be done about it. Now has 20% chance instead of 10% chance to activate the hidden skill, which is, 1 in 5. We'll see. Okay, RNG can be fun. Richtof. They increased his destroy proc. Destroy's not really much of a thing in this game yet. Now this one's a big one. Attacks one enemy 3 times, applies poison to the target. Now he attacks one enemy 3 times and puts poisons on everybody for 2 turns. 5% poison for 2 turns on everybody with a 100% chance. And also attacks one enemy, deals 20% more critical damage for each poison on the target, up to 100% max. So there's some interesting... That's interesting. You can get 100% more crit damage on him, which has potential to be insane, right? You gear him up crazy. I'll be interested to see what kind of damage output we can get out of him now. And then we got a couple of changes to a couple of epics. Vergus now on a target ally places continuous heal, speed, and reflect damage. Places share damage on all allies, except self for 2 turns, and then defense buffs himself for 2 turns. I assume share damage is ally protection, like Skull Crushers. Kind of a Skull Crusher situation with a defense buff on himself. And then the other skill is continuous heals on self for 2 turns each time his HP drops below 50%. Also now applies shield on himself for 2 turns each time this hero loses 10% of his max HP. The value of the shield is 10% of his max HP. So... also interesting. Oathbound attacks all enemies 1 time, decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 20% with a 55% chance, places decreased attack on all enemies. Now here's an example of where we have a skill and then we've got a duplicate, but the difference down here is that now it's a 50% attack break. So now he's got an AoE turn meter knockback and a good attack break with a pretty good chance to land. I think this gives him some utility in dungeons if you're struggling to get through waves. I think that this could be pretty helpful. Maybe even helpful in Spider in certain situations, right? The AoE attack break could be helpful. Turn meter knockback can be helpful. We'll see. I don't know what the cooldown is on it. I'm assuming it's his A2. I don't know the cooldown. I would imagine, 3 or 4 turns maybe skilled up? I don't know. I don't know what the cooldown is, but I think this could be particularly helpful in dungeons. I think AoE turn meter knockback with attack break is some pretty decent insurance for waves if you're struggling to get through, right? And then here, attacks 4 times at random, places block active skills with a 30% chance. If the target is under a decreased attack buff, place blocked active skills debuff with a 100% chance. So it makes it more reliable if the attack breaks up. So I think Oathbound got a little bit more viable for a lot of people, right? A lot of people struggling to get through waves in the dungeons. I think that's an interesting change. We'll see. We'll see how it translates. And then Duchess, the Duchess nerf. So I know the Duchess nerf is going to hurt a lot of people. I know that's going to upset some people. I honestly feel, though, ultimately, like I can't be mad at this. These are the champs that we've been talking about for a while. It's sure it's not all of them. They didn't do it all, but this is the type of stuff we've been waiting on them to start doing for a year. Literally. This is what we've been waiting on them to start doing. Is getting in here and messing with some of these champions and changing things up. Stop adding new champs. Stop adding champs that shift the meta and then adding new champs to counter that meta. Stop that. We've got a lot of champs in here that need work. We've been waiting on them to do this, right? So even if it's not perfect, even if it's not always desirable, I have a hard time being mad at this. This is the type of stuff I've been waiting on them to do, right? So I have a hard time being mad at it one way or the other. I don't have a Duchess. I know that some people are going to be mad about Duchess, but that's also a thing that's going to happen. In these games, the developers will occasionally do things like this that are going to shift the meta. They're going to make someone who was great not great, and they're going to make someone who wasn't great, just to change up the scene and see what happens. So it's unfortunate for people that have Duchess, but it is a thing that happens occasionally, right? They do initiate meta shifts occasionally. So all we can really do is see how it translates, see what happens. I don't think that she's useless now, but that is that's a lot of loss there. That's a lot of damage reduction loss there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I am also very interested to know what you guys think about this. I'm still cautious about getting optimistic, but I have to say that even though they're not doing everything right, again, I've never expected perfection. I've never expected them to do everything right or everything that I think. I've only expected them to be putting in effort, visibly putting in effort to change things and improve things. And this feels like that. This feels like, again, another small part of a small step in the right direction. They have a ton to do to change things. They have a ton to do to make me interested again. They have a lot of repairing to do. They have a lot of relationship pairing to do with their players, but these types of little things here, they're good starts. So that's my 2 cents on that. That's my thoughts. I am interested to know what you guys think. Duchess owners, non-Duchess owners, Mashaled owners, how are you feeling about these changes? How does it make you feel about the state of things? The extra champ storage could be nice. It'll depend on how expensive it is, honestly. We'll see. What would be a really good look is to just give everybody the 100 slots. That would be a really good move, to just let everybody have the 100 slots. No crystals, no mana, no silver, whatever the currencies are. I'm playing too many games. That would be an interesting one. That would be a nice one. So we'll see what they do. Again, let me know what you guys think. New mic will be here soon. I'm announcing the giveaway winners tomorrow, so be sure and pop in for that. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, all the stuff that helps me out. I appreciate it, and I'll see you tomorrow.